Hello, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, I got this idea from a video. There was a couple of questions that were posted in the comment section. That led me to add one of those questions to answering our subscribers' questions videos. That generated a lot more discussion. I've received a lot more questions about it, and there's obviously a lot of misconceptions about this today. So let's spend a few minutes and talk about, is concealed carry insurance legal in Washington State? Okay, before we get rolling, you guys know the drill. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button down below. If you want to stay up to date on issues related to your Second Amendment rights, both on a statewide and nationwide level, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. Click the little bell logo if you want to be notified of new videos. And most importantly, let's keep the comments and discussions coming. Okay, so the issue for today's discussion is concealed carry or self-defense insurance. Is it legal in Washington State? Now, many of you out there have already told me that you believe it's illegal, that the Attorney General, as we know, with the governor's backing, called this murder insurance a few years ago and went through concerted efforts to try to do away with this product in Washington State. Many of you believe that there was legislation passed which outlawed this product here in Washington State. That is actually not correct. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk to Alex Mauri. Alex is the regional sales director for a company called U.S. Law Shield. Yes, they are a self-defense insurance company. Yes, they are doing business here in Washington State and have been for some time. So let's hear what Alex has to say about that today. All right, well, we're joined by Alex Mauri from U.S. Law Shield. Alex, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about what you do with U.S. Law Shield?
Awesome. First off, thanks for having me, Bill. My name is Alex Mauri. I'm the operations manager over the Inland Northwest and Pacific Northwest region over the United States. I manage day-to-day operations for U.S. Law Shield, which is the nation's oldest and largest legal defense for self-defense program in states like Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming.
All right, so you mentioned Washington State. Now, listen, a lot of our viewers who are, the lawful and responsible gun owners here in Washington State believe that concealed carry insurance, self-defense insurance, whichever name we want to give that product, is illegal in Washington State. Is that true?
It's a very common misconception. It's true in the sense of it's a common belief, but it's not true in its reality.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute, because there is this huge misconception. I've encountered it quite a bit. I know you probably encountered it even more. Is that right?
Day to day.
Okay. U.S. Law Shield, if we go back a few years, U.S. Law Shield, as well as several other companies, were doing business in Washington State. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what exactly happened between these companies and the Attorney General? Because we heard terms like murder insurance being thrown out and stuff like that from the Attorney General. He got very vocal. And as we know, our Attorney General in Washington State is a bit of a political creature. And so he was out there giving all of these sound bites. Did he pass some sort of legislation that banned self-defense insurance?
Not at all, Bill. All that really came out of it was the state of Washington, both the Attorney General's office and the insurance commissioner, required products such as U.S. Law Shield to comply with Washington insurance law and to become an admitted insurance company within the state prior to operating. And so far, U.S. Law Shield is the only company, to my knowledge, that has done that.
Okay, so at the time that you were told by the Attorney General and the Insurance Commission, was U.S. Law Shield at that particular moment in compliance with what the state of Washington was requiring?
No.
Okay, and nor were any of the other companies, from what my understanding, right?
That's correct.
Okay, but because there was not a legislative ban on this product, it was instead, you cannot do business in this state unless you do the following. My understanding is they gave all of these companies a roadmap on how to lawfully, legally establish themselves back in the state of Washington again. Is that right?
That's correct. All that was required is we become an admitted insurance product, licensed and vetted through the Washington Insurance Commission, which so far, year to date, U.S. Law Shield is the only company that's done that.
Okay. And so what I'm assuming is when you say licensed and vetted through the Washington State Insurance Commission, there's all sorts of hoops to jump through, all sorts of regulatory requirements along the way, all sorts of audits and government oversight to ensure that the product that is being sold to the consumer in the state of Washington is a reliable and valid product.
The attorneys have got their red pens out a few times, Bill.
Okay. Okay. So U.S. Law Shield is up and doing business in the state of Washington.
That is correct.
Okay. If a person is a member of U.S. Law Shield, what benefits do they receive?
All of our members have three main benefits. The first is what you think of when you think about joining a product such as U.S. Law Shield or joining a service such as U.S. Law Shield. You have immediate attorney representation following a self-defense incident. Now, on that line of the business, we don't discriminate on what the weapon used was. It's any legal weapon on any level of force, both civil and criminal. So you have the protection piece. You also have an education component. You can come to our seminars, meet our program attorneys, interact with law enforcement officers, with medical professionals, and allow us to educate you on Washington gun law, on common concealed carry violations, on fish and game violations, the stuff our people want to know. And then lastly is you have access to our network of attorneys throughout the United States who you can call and ask Second Amendment and concealed carry and firearms advice from whenever the mood strikes.
Okay, Alex, so how much is a person looking at if they want to have membership in U.S. Law Shield?
Our product is extremely inexpensive, Bill. We are $10.95 a month or $131.40 a year.
Okay. And what are the, and so, you know, a lot of these, there used to be a lot of these companies, and there are some that are operating on a national level, and every one of them has a little bit of a different business structure. So a person who is a member of Law Shield, if they have an incident, what are they actually looking at out-of-pocket expenses?
Sure, good question. So our program, one of the things that makes us so unique is we have no caps to our coverage. We have no limits. We have no deductible, and we don't reimburse for money spent. We pay your legal expenses up front. So our members keep paying their monthly or annual rate of $10.95 or $131 a year, and we pay the attorneys to represent them. And there's no limit to that. So it doesn't end at a dollar amount. It ends when the case is done based on a conviction, based on a plea deal, based on a dismissal, whatever comes out of that case between you and your program attorney, we're going to allow you to litigate that however's best for your case. You don't have to worry about what the coverage will cover. You're involved in an incident, you qualify, you have our attorney at your disposal until the case is done. And that includes appeals, and that includes mistrials and retrials as well.
Okay, so to give our viewers an example, let's say that I'm representing a U.S. Law Shield client on a lawful self-defense shooting. There is a plea bargain in place, but between me and my client, we don't believe we should take the plea bargain. We believe the law is on our side, the evidence is on our side, and so now we decide to turn down that plea bargain and proceed towards trial. And this trial is going to be a big production number. It's going to be expert witnesses involved. It's going to take a couple of weeks to try. And candidly speaking, you're looking at several $100,000 worth of legal fees. Are you saying that in that situation, that individual's covered for all of those expenses?
We're going to cover your legal expenses until the case is done, however you and your attorney decide to litigate that case.
Okay. And you know, when we talk a lot here, especially on Washington gun law, about what happens in lawful self-defense shootings and the fact that a person can be charged with a crime, put in jail, prison, things like that. But we don't talk frequently enough about the other side of this, which is that even if you avoid criminal liability, if you're involved in a self-defense situation, especially if someone's been seriously injured, you're looking almost assuredly at a lawsuit. So what does U.S. Law Shield do for folks in that situation?
So great question. We don't just cover criminal. We cover criminal, civil, and administrative, and they're not mutually exclusive. All three can apply to your self-defense incident. And like you said, more times than not, you are always going to face civil action regarding self-defense. Now, we're seeing in areas of the country where you're almost always going to face some sort of criminal prosecution as well. If you have one but not the other, or you have both, or if you're a first responder and you have an administrative hearing because you defended yourself at work, U.S. Law Shield is going to represent you in all three, and you don't lose coverage when one concludes. So if you take that plea bargain that you were just throwing out in your hypothetical scenario, right? If our client were to take that plea bargain on the criminal side, we're still going to cover them on a subsequent civil action. It doesn't end just because a member pleads guilty.
All right. So now, for, you were saying 1095 a month. Now that, as I understand it, is kind of your basic membership for the state of Washington or whichever state you would be residing in. But let's say a person does a lot of traveling. I used to, previously in my legal career, have to travel quite a bit around the country. And we certainly have a lot of folks that do that on a professional or on a personal level. And
Sure.
they're worried about self-defense situations when they're in Ohio or Iowa or Florida or New York or any place like that. What can U.S. Law Shield assist people who are kind of transitory like that?
Yeah, so we have a few add-ons, and they're different add-ons in different states, but one that's available in all of our states is what we call multi-state. What multi-state does is it's $2.95 a month, so less than $3 more a month. We're going to extend whatever coverage you have to all 50 states in Puerto Rico. So if you're like myself, if you're like you in your prior life where you're traveling all the time, it's a no-brainer to purchase the multi-state endorsement on your policy.
And then if you live in Spokane, Washington, or down in Vancouver, Washington, where you're so frequently going into Idaho or so frequently going into Oregon, it's kind of almost an essential, isn't it?
Absolutely. We don't get to choose where our self-defense incident happens. And I think it's just almost foolish to see the value in a product like this, but to decide you want to limit yourself to where you can defend yourself. Get the multi-state option and be able to defend yourself wherever the incident takes place.
That's awesome. Okay, now you said there's these add-ons. So we talked about this multi-state. What are there other add-ons that a person could explore with U.S. Law Shield?
Yeah, so in Washington State, we have an add-on called Hunter Shield, and I know you and I did a video about it that your viewers can look on.
Yeah, we'll put a link for that down below there. That's right. We did do a separate video on it, but briefly, why don't you describe to us what Hunter Shield is?
So Hunter Shield exists for our hunters and fishermen in our membership base. It extends our coverage to unintentional fish and game violations. So I love to speak on this because I'm both a hunter and a fisherman. And I'll tell you, the only law that sometimes is more convoluted than when you can legally defend yourself is fish and game law.
Yeah,
it's very easy to get wrapped up in an incident where you're charged criminally when you had no intention on committing a violation.
You know, even Captain Anderson from the Department of Fish and Wildlife was kind enough to do an interview for us here at Washington Law. He says that 90% of the violations they come across are what he calls inadvertent violations, where people were just simply did not know the regulations or the law.
Absolutely. That is what our Hunter Shield exists to defend. If you're involved in an unintentional fish and game act, you make a mistake, and you have Hunter Shield, we're going to cover your attorney fees and help you out on that as well.
Are there any other add-ons they offer?
In Washington, we have one more. We have one of my favorites. It's called Minor Child. What Minor Child does is it extends your coverage to your children. Now, remember, Bill, earlier we mentioned we cover any level of force, from a push to a shooting.
That's right.
And then I also told you, outside of just criminal, we cover civil and administrative hearings as well. So where this adds value in talking with our customers, if you have a minor child add-on and your child's involved in an incident on the schoolyard against, let's just say, a bully, Billy the bully confronts your child and your child defends themselves and they're in a suspension hearing at that school board, which is all too common.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be the parents and little Johnny explaining to the principal why his acts were righteous self-defense. You're going to have our independent program attorney in that hearing representing your child's right to self-defense as well. So those are the three that exist in Washington State. Outside of Washington, we have two others. We have bail and expert witness. Bail and expert witness covers $50,000 worth of bail and any expert witnesses that are needed at your case. Not available in Washington State, unfortunately.
It's not available because of insurance regulations that Law Shield has to comply with in order to maintain business here in Washington State.
Absolutely correct. And the other add-on that falls into that same category is something we call gun owner identity theft coverage. Simply put, if your identity is stolen and it compromises your ability to purchase a firearm, which happens all the time. I was just in one of our newest facilities, Triple B Guns in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Yep. And she says she sees that every year where an identity is stolen and they get a denial, and that individual has no recourse on essentially restoring their rights. If our member has our gun owner identity theft protection coverage add-on, we're going to represent them on that as well. So those are the five that exist, three in Washington. Those other two, unfortunately, are not in Washington due to the regulatory issues.
All right. So listen, if someone's interested in exploring this further, if someone wants to talk to U.S. Law Shield and ask them some of the tough questions, which is what I've encouraged people to do when they call me, because they're still skeptical of this. You know, I heard it was murder insurance. I was like, hey, talk to the folks at Law Shield directly and find out from them exactly all the hoops that they had to jump through to make this happen. But if one of our viewers is interested, what's the best way to get a hold of Law Shield and sign up?
Well, you can go to our website at uslawshield.com. You can read about all of our coverages that exist there. If you decide it's for you, you can go to that Join Now tab, select your options, select your add-on, select if you want to pay monthly or annually. And then at the very bottom, there's a spot for a promo code box. In that promo code box, I want all of your viewers to use the code WA for Washington, NR. So WANR. When they select that promo code, what's going to happen is they're going to get our Platinum Plus membership. Now, in our Platinum Plus membership, it does two key things. The first is it grandfathers you in at your rate for life. So whatever rate you pay, when you click checkout, that's going to be your rate forever as long as you maintain an active membership. And the other thing it's going to do is if you decide to pay annually, so you pay 12 months up front, we're going to give you 2 free months, so you're getting 14 for the price of 12. And we're also going to discount a spouse or a secondary member to $108.60 for 14 months. So it is a significant savings to do the annual with the Platinum Plus membership.
Great. Alex, thank you so very much. And again, any of you who are interested, we'll put the links down below in the description box. Alex, thanks again for your time. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Likewise, Bill. Thank you.
Well, I hope that clears up some of the questions and confusion and misconceptions that you may have about concealed carry insurance. Listen, if you have any more questions about that product, contact US Law Shield directly at uslawshield.com. Now, if you have any questions related to your Second Amendment rights on a statewide or nationwide level, don't ever hesitate to contact us at washingtongunlaw.com. Or, of course, you can call us directly at 425-765-0487. Now, remember, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we preach all the time here at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching. Stay safe.